Hey, what's up, y'all? Happy Memorial Day. That's not what we're here to talk about. You know, I see all these posts that are like, everything shifted, everything changed, 2020. Time sped up, everything, all that good stuff, right? Well, here's my take on it. When that happened, I was working in a juvenile facility, and this was a place kids went before they turned 18 and went to the big house. So these kids were not getting out. It was a 60-day program where I taught CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy. But anyhow, what happened? So the first thing the day is they handed us a bunch of masks to give to the children. And mind you, this was a level fully locked down unit, so these kids didn't even get to go outside. And so, you know, I said, hey, it's being encouraged that we should wear these masks. And these kids, straight up, every one of them were like, no, F that, we're stuck in this. They had good points. They're like, we're stuck in this building. We don't even have fresh airflow or sun. Why would we put on these masks? And so they didn't. The nurses got upset and they said we had to make them wear it or get them enhancements on their thing, which I refused to do. I'm like, no, they don't want to wear these masks. They don't have to. I cannot force them to wear these masks. So that's part of the equation, is this forced compliance. A lot of people during this time didn't actually care. They were either scared, and there was that side of it, or it was a virtue signaling thing. It was like a political thing, like this side doesn't wear this, so this side does. So that's when, in conclusion, the great divide happened. The great, you know, with people's political affiliations. And something that was supposed to be, you know, a health crisis actually turned political. And that's why one side didn't take it seriously and the other side just kind of virtue signaled. And that's just the way it is. I'm not a political guy, but that is what happened. I saw this in the field I worked. So anyway, time has not sped up. What has happened is, so I didn't get the opportunity to stay home like some of y'all and get paid. I had to work the whole time. Actually, it was mandated overtime. And for those that did, when they were stuck at home, what do you think they were doing? Some of them, I'm sure, were, you know, drinking or doing whatever activities, but I imagine they were constantly checking news sources, their phone. It was constantly reminding them, hey, there's this pandemic, everything's closed down, social distancing, all this, blah, 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 blah. Okay. So a lot of people got very disenfranchised when seeing mom and pop shops who had low traffic getting shut down because of this pandemic, right? But somehow Walmart, Target, liquor stores were able to stay open. And it made no sense. It made no sense. And then they started putting these little traffic ways you had to walk with arrows. That was the silliest thing that did not work out. So people, again, became disenfranchised with that error right there. And again, with the whole people saying it hasn't been the same, it truly hasn't, because one side of people are completely delusional, and how do I put it? It's almost like a prideful thing. They supported something that ended up being a lie, and they haven't accepted that. It's like they're stuck in a delusion, you know? Put this in your body, it will help you. And then that proved not to be right. And then the people that's like, no, I don't want to do this, it became political. Instead of just like, oh no, I just don't want to put something in my body I'm not sure is going to do anything, or the repercussions thereof, right? So that, we had that. And again, all these things, these personal choices people were making, were made political, and it was virtue signaling. So the divide grew more and more and more. And then people were, it was insane. The stay home, stay safe. Let me see if I get the sequence right. I think the Black Lives Matter, I Can't Breathe came in, and then wear a mask, save lives, get vaccinated, stay alive, save lives. Then, I think before that, of course, it was Not My President. And then it went, I Stand With Ukraine. And then Ukraine just got forgot about, and then I stand with Hamas. And then after that, I think it was like protect trans kids. Then after that, something happened, and then I stand back with Ukraine. Oh yeah, I forgot. And then they got forgot about again, and then it went into free Palestine, abolish ICE, no kings, abolish ICE, no kings. So we see people adhering to certain, a lot of celebrities, musicians adhering to certain ideologies and agendas. It's almost like they have handlers telling them what to be upset about. And again, the divide becomes more and more and more. So people are communicating less, and they are getting isolated, listening to podcasts, binge watching shows more than they used to before. Of course, there was the antisocial type that did that before, but this is what was going on. This is what just kind of when everything went bad. The time has not sped up. Time can't theoretically actually speed up unless we have that technology, but at this point it hasn't. Started seeing all these things happen that were reinforcing these tin hat conspiracy theorists, but actually it's like, wow, some of it really wasn't a conspiracy, and these people were somewhat gaslighted. Started seeing that created more of a divide. So, like, in the past 6 years, what has happened on both sides is a rapid overdrive of ideologies. And I'm not just talking about the left, I'm talking about both the left and right. People became fanatical in their beliefs and took it as some virtue to vote for someone, or to believe in this and that, be affiliated with that. And the whole commonality is, again, this every sequence of this is a greater divide between us. We divide us. You know, I grew up in the punk rock community when I was younger. There was literally neo-Nazis there. There was some Crip gangbangers, believe it or not, some Chicano Southsiders, East Norteños, Sureños, whatever you want to say it. There was some people, they didn't have a community then, but just queer people. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, but that's just a loss of words. There was just various types of groups, and the commonality was the bands they were coming to see. Sometimes there was fights and stabbings. Believe it or not, it wasn't due to the indifferences. It was usually just like kind of high testosterone, I guess we'll say just toxic masculinity in the mosh pit. Rarely was it like just, oh, you're this way, I'm gonna beat you up. And nowadays it's so different. The music scene's everywhere. It's so divided. It seems to be dominated by the I'm gonna call it the facilitated left-leaning side, because a Democrat then is not the same as it is now. Kind of the same with both ways, actually. And so for me, I'm naturally a conservative person, but I don't want that to be associated with conservative American politics, because I don't agree with any side of the big government. I don't agree with any side. I don't think they're handling this country well, as evidence of the mental illness occurring, the mass shootings, the homelessness, whatever. I also think there's something more nefarious behind that than our government, and I do believe in God and Satan, but that's just a different topic in general. So no, time has not sped up. I think we just placated into this divide and forget what commonalities we have. Sorry for that. And that's what it is. The economy surely isn't helping. Things are getting more expensive. That's causing stress. We've allowed these big corporations, big pharma, people were simping for these people, worshiping them, and claiming to be anti-capitalism, and while exploiting the very system that they were against. This is why no one, and then we see one side, these people that say they're godly people, and then there things coming out with them doing horrible stuff to people or children. So no one can take anyone seriously. Labels, words mean nothing anymore. Because I say I'm conservative, that doesn't mean I'm a racist person. That doesn't mean I'm a nationalist. That doesn't mean anything like that. But a lot of you have labeled that. You have kind of, it got that stigma. And just like when someone says to me they're left-leaning, I explore that. Like, okay, what is it? Okay, you know, this and that. And commonality is both sides have left-leaning attributes and they have right-leaning attributes. The biggest trick ever is thinking that we had to be marginalized into one or the other, instead of just being a dang decent human being. So that's what really happened in 2020 and so on, is we stopped being decent human beings to each other. We became more than ever more and more factions. We put our identity in things that aren't necessary, communities that aren't necessary. And that's the truth, brothers and sisters. That is the truth. We allowed this to happen to us. We, both sides. People say, I heard theory that it was a test, you know, to see how we comply. I don't know. I don't have enough evidence to say yes or no towards that, but I do know that I respected people that were scared and thought they needed to say get a certain injection because they thought it would be better. But I also would just as much respect someone that didn't want to put that and felt that they can just take their health in their own hands. I don't think either or was a bad approach, as long as you didn't make it political, as long as you didn't make it virtue, because then you're just the test subject that you were meant to be. And that's kind of what I can see it as. The easiest way is kind of is mass psychosis testing grounds right there. And that's the truth. Time to not slow down. We've just become distant from reality with these phones. I see so many videos, and there's so much craziness out there, y'all. So much stuff that it's fear-mongering. It's like, even guys like me that have like 20 views, well, I'll watch a video and it's just fear-mongering. It's their perspective instead of just speaking the truth. I promise you right now, I'm just speaking the truth. I'm not going to spit out things that aren't factual. I'm never going to really get political. But at the same time, I am going to identify certain political topics or factions or groups or fanatics that need to be. I just do. I'm never going to worship no president. I believe that it's all bureaucratic and they're all paid for anyway. I've always believed that. I've never voted in my life, never will. I give that to God. And the only thing you can do is just care for each other. I left the clinical field around 2021 because of the toxic, and I'm going to say it, this is how it is, and people can cry, but it being infiltrated with toxic femininity. It became a very neoliberal, dysfunctional, the over-sexualized LGBT, and in the punitive field and all that, it infiltrated it, and it took away the standard that we had as social workers, as correction officers, and it became too personalized with people's opinions, and that's not necessary. I don't need to know who you sleep with or what you believe. I really don't. I just need to know that the commonality, like I said in the punk, we came to see the punk bands, that's the commonality. Or we're coming to work, we have a standard to adhere. They give you, every place has standard operating procedures. It's not like we just have to guess, and you have to adhere to those. Sometimes you have to compromise, you know, in order to be crafty, but that's what it is we need, as a human race, we need standard operating procedures. We need a standard, and we don't. We lost that standard more than ever in 2022 or 2020. That's what's happened. So time feels like it's speeding up because everyone's miserable. Everyone's stressing. Everyone's conflicted with various amounts of information on such things, and they're constantly getting reminded of it. Everything is polarized. There's duality everywhere, and that's the problem right there. That's simply the problem. Is we were not meant to be that divided. The only divide there should be is if this person wants to hurt, these people want to hurt my people, then we should unite. I think we all could agree, I hope most of us can agree, that people, children, animals, do not deserve to be hurt. They should be protected in a strong society. I don't care if you're right or left. And if you truly disagree with that, and there is a little faction of people that actually believe in, let's say, love is love and it doesn't matter the age, and that's all I'm going to go with that. But if you truly believe that in your heart, I hope you pray that someone like me doesn't actually find that out about you, because that's not a threat or anything, but if you truly believe that and you've gone way too far, then there's no repentance, and that's between you and God, and may the wood chipper find you, is all I have to say. We just need to come back to a standard, and as Americans, was America ever great? Maybe not, I don't know. It's still a land of opportunity. Do we do things, conduct ourselves perfectly? No, we don't. I do the best I can. I don't go around booming schools. I don't go around protesting, disrupting traffic. I don't oppose people protesting just to be a rage baiter either. I don't attest certain communities, but I don't necessarily support them either. I keep quiet on certain things because this is the last thing I'll leave you with. When I worked clinical, I did really good, especially in the psych hospital. Like, people wanted me to do training programs, and I didn't want to do it because everyone's approach is different. And the main guy who facilitated this training program, I won't say it, he said, "What is your secret? How are you able to calm these people down?" And I said, this is the thing, this is the truth, y'all, and this is kind of how Americans are right now. This is gonna tie together. Is when you are angry, you're out of character, you're delusional, you're hyper focused on that. Okay, well, let's just go into someone that's psychotic. They go from baseline to 10 really quick and just angry. Okay, so the golden rule is with people, because everyone's delusional when they're angry or when they're hyper focused on the subject, is you never oppose their delusion unless it really is at that moment physically detrimental to them, like it's an imminent danger. But you do not oppose, but you also don't reinforce their delusion. You just redirect it. That's the secret. You just redirect it. Okay, if I'm working with somebody and they see I'm wearing a hat, let's say my hat just says America, and then they just target me and they're like, oh, you American. They start getting all political and like, Trump this, Trump that, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so natural response for someone would be to try to combat what they're saying you don't know what you're talking about, all this and that, or just to redirect it and say, look for something to ruin. Let's say it was something they have, like, hey, that's a really cool tattoo or cool bracelet. I promise you, person will just sit there for a second. They may be like, you tried to change the subject, and if they do say that, you say, yes, I am. We don't need to be talking about this or arguing about this. Let's see what we do have in common. And that's the whole point, is we've lost the commonality with each other. That's why everything's miserable. Y'all have a good one.